This video is once again dedicated to Ravenous Raven Designs. They provide web design and development, search engine optimization, WordPress design, and graphic design. Give them a call or an email for more information. I'll link the page in the description below. Do you hate paying for creatures? Would you rather just have them come out tapped and attacking? Free value for everyone. Well, here are what I think are the top 10 commanders right now that can help with that in no particular order. Okay, we have to start with Kalia of the Vast. It's more or less the OG of this kind of thing, and everyone knows who she is. She attacks an opponent and lets you put an angel, demon, or dragon from your hand into play, tapped and attacking. It shoehorns you into these tribes, but hey, those are amazing ones to be shoehorned into, and a lot of them are very expensive as is, so not having to cast them is truly amazing. Ultron Magnus Tactician is really neat as well. We'll only worry about its front side, even though the back side is really cool. Whenever Ultron Magnus attacks, you can put an artifact creature into play, tapped and attacking. This, once again, forces you to have a specific type of creature, but hey, in a Transformers deck, it's on theme anyway, so I'd love to see some ridiculous builds with this. Next is Zara Renegade Recruiter. She's definitely an exception to the rule of only having your own creatures come out for free. Whenever she attacks, you'll look at the defending player's hand and put one of their creatures into play, tapped and attacking them or one of their planeswalkers. Sure, you can only keep the creature until end of turn, but there are ways to get around that with Sundial of the Infinite or Discontinuity. Plus, it's just so demeaning to have your own creature slowly kill you, but it just doesn't get better than that. Shadowfax, Lord of Horses, is one that I think people put into a horses-only deck, but you don't really realize the possibilities. Sure, your horses gain haste, but who cares? Whenever Shadowfax attacks, you get to put one of your own creatures with lesser power out for free. This could be good with some equipments or auras to make Shadowfax bigger, then put something out with lesser power, like Gisela Blade of Gold Knight, or something simple like an Adult Gold Dragon. You know, lots of ways to make this crazy, and you don't have to lose that creature at the end of combat. Okay, Arie Metalbrow just had one horn in his head to begin with, and then he had to have intentionally gotten the other one, right? Is it just me? Anyway, he triggers off the tapped and attacking thing, then you can just pay 2 mana to do the same thing as Shadowfax and have lesser power creature into play. You get to keep it as well. It's similar to Shadowfax, but you could easily make it totally different with him. It's also cheaper and triggers off attacks or tapped and attacking triggers, so that just might be easier to accomplish. I don't know, but hey, they're both really cool. Paladin Elizabeth Taggerty has a battalion trigger, so if you attack with at least 2 other creatures, you'll draw a card and put out a creature with mana value less than her power. Again, it's very similar to the last two, but it's slightly different, and you could easily build this a different way as well. What I like about this one though is that it draws you a card on the battalion attack, so you can load up a potential creature into hand and put it out. Battalion isn't hard to get in white, and there are plenty of small creatures out there for this to run into when you draw a card, but it's interesting that it uses mana value instead of lesser power, so you could easily beef up Elizabeth and then put out like an ancient copper dragon or something. Anyway, really cool creature design. Looking for another tribal deck? Straan, progenitor, is the creature for you. If you like vampires, he's cool because you get to keep the creatures he puts out and they gain indestructible for the turn they come out. All you have to do is sacrifice 2 blood tokens, and in this deck you'll most certainly have a lot of those. It's another shoehorned deck, but it's a very fun play on the vampire theme and makes for some incredible interactions. Straan himself has flying as well, making him that much harder to block too, so I really like this one. And it's a nice change of pace from all the freaking regular old ones. And speaking of vampires, Olivia Crimson Bride is just that. She, however, doesn't keep you in the vampire lane as much. She pulls creatures from your graveyard rather than your hand, which works very well in all the discarding in red. You load up your graveyard and then charging swinging. And as long as you control Olivia or another legendary vampire, those creatures stay out. Now, it's not ideal that you have to keep out that legendary vampire, but it's still a really fun way to get free creatures from the yard. One of the more simple ones, Ilharg the raze-boar, is still incredible. It lets you put a creature down tapped and attacking in just a very simple way, and then it returns that creature to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. step. But that's where Sundial of the Infinite comes in again. And there are some really scary creatures in red, so this will be a force to be reckoned with. Returning them to hand keeps them out of harm's way sometimes, like, you know, if someone has a board wipe next turn or is just tapped out. It's a really cool, recurable way to keep swinging in with your best creatures. And finally, we have the newest one in the bunch, which technically isn't out yet, but we've got Aler IB. Oh boy, I have so many memories with this guy. Man, it takes me back a decade. Jeez. It's a martyr human assassin with first strike and says whenever he attacks, you'll exile an assassin from your graveyard with a memory counter on it. Then create a token of all the exiled cards with memory counters on them into play tapped and attacking. Sure, it's not the real creatures per se, but being able to continually attack with some really cool assassins over and over is really pretty busted. The only way to stop this really is by killing Altair or using something obscure like an Ulamog's Despoiler, you know, remove the exiled creatures to the graveyard. I don't know, it's weird, but it's kind of a crapshoot on whether you can do that or not. But anyway, it's a really cool creature and it's going to be hard to deal with sometimes. All right, what do you think of these? And what are your favorite tapped and attacking creatures? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you purchase all those cards from the TCGplayer affiliate link in the description below. Check out that Patreon page. Thank you to my Patreon subscribers, Ravenous Raven Designs, of course, once again. And I'll see you guys next week for your weekly dose of magic.